And now let's take a look at what was the first electronic jazz classroom. This special concert featuring an all-star band was beamed live via satellite to classrooms all across the country. It offered students an opportunity to hear performance and discussion from some of the jazz mainstays like Clark Terry, Joshua Redmond, Terry Lee Carrington, and composer, keyboardist, and record producer Herbie Hancock. We had an opportunity to talk to Steve Lacy, who, as you know, is father of the soprano sax and makes his living overseas. He says that jazz really doesn't get the kind of musical notoriety that it should in this country. Do you think this kind of electronic classroom will kind of help build audiences for the future and guarantee its survival?
Well, I'm hoping that that will be one of the benefits of doing this kind of electronic classroom. You know, I know Steve Lacy, and he's been living in Europe for a number of years now. For myself, there are a lot of Americans who think that I don't play acoustic jazz anymore because they haven't seen any output from me, and they haven't seen any concerts of me playing acoustic jazz in America in a long time. But every year I play straight ahead jazz in Europe and in Japan because the audience there's much more of a built-in audience in Europe and Japan for jazz. There are other reasons too. The way the whole economic scene stacks up, it makes it easier, I think, for promoters to be able to do things like jazz festivals, because a lot of the festivals are supported by the radio and television stations, and those are state-owned, whereas here in America they can't be state-owned. It's against the law. You know? So that changes the financial picture quite a bit. But I wish that I could much more easily afford to perform in the States.
You've been compared to the Thelonious Monk of the 70s by virtue of your foray into electronic music, by using rhythmic intonations and explorations similar to that Monk did in acoustic music. That's a great accolade.
You know, it's funny because I don't ever think I remember hearing anybody make any kind of a comparison to me and Monk in that way, but I really like rhythm. You know, it's something that I really respond to. And I love harmony, too. That's something I respond to also. That kind of parallel is kind of interesting. I don't play Monk's rhythms, you know, necessarily, but I know I'm
But you're
influenced.
daring, just like he was.
Well, thank you very much for that compliment. I'll tell you one thing. I had the great fortune to work with Miles Davis for 5 years. And if you want to talk about somebody who's daring, you know, Miles Davis is the guy. And I should hope that some of the encouragement that he instilled in anyone that was able to pick up on it from him, you know, I hope I was able to get some of the spirit of standing up for what I believe in and sticking to it and fighting for it if need be.
Thelonious Monk always had an open home. Anybody could come in, he'd help them in any way he could. You do that. You're an educator. You produced Wynton Marsalis's first album.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity for me. The way that happened, George Butler, who was the head of A&R, Artists and Repertoire at what was in Columbia Records, now Sony Records, called me and said they were getting ready to sign this young 19-year-old trumpet player. I think it was 19 then. They had talked, and they were talking about me possibly producing it. And I told them I said, look, let me hear what the guy sounds like. So they sent me a tape, And it floored me. On one side, he's playing a duet with his father. It was Wynton Marsalis and Ellis Marsalis playing piano. The other side was Wynton Marsalis playing a double trumpet concerto with the New Orleans Symphony Orchestra, and his trumpet teacher playing the other trumpet. And that was incredible. And so I just listened to the talent that was coming out of this young kid. And actually what wound up happening is before we did Wynton's record, I took Wynton on tour with me. And I had a quartet with Wynton and Ron Carter on bass and Tony Williams on drums and myself. And we did this whirlwind tour of Europe and Japan and made a record there too. So my relationship with Wynton had gotten to be very solid from that tour.
People have said that that your introduction of electronics into jazz really took it out of the smoke-filled rooms or the clubs and put it on the world stage. Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
You know, it's funny. I never think about things like that. You know, if other people come to that conclusion or other people observe that, and then I'm of course very, very pleased. But all I know is I just do what I feel satisfies an urge that's within me. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's very important to pay attention to your feelings, but at the same time, pay attention to the environment that you live in. You know, and pay attention to the other people that are around you. You know, but not necessarily pit one against the other.
You know, Maiden Voyage is such a lovely picture in our mind, and I think it's important to convey to people when they listen to jazz. There are messages there that obviously the composer has laid out for us. My impression whenever I've heard it is, I hear the sax and the trumpet take us on this small path through the woods. We break into the open where you embellish and color the whole world for us on the piano. Then the sax and the trumpet take us on these little side journeys within this world, and then they marry and they take us back through this narrow little path where the last thing that we hear is the percussion, which tells us that there was initially a journey made, but now things are back to normal. It's all there.
The way you're describing it is those are the images that that you've created, and that's your response to what you hear in the music. For someone else, it may be something maybe similar, but they may use some other types of symbolism, and that's okay. Again, something else I got from people like Thelonious Monk and Miles Davis, and that is you can use the element called provocativeness in stirring up and prodding the creative juices of not just the composer or the performer, but also of the audience as well.
Yeah. Throughout your career, there's been this pattern of virtuoso work, collaboration, healthy collaboration, a little more virtuoso collaboration. I get the impression that really for your maturation as an artist, you need this continuum of playing with other talented musicians.
Absolutely. For me, I can't be everywhere at the same time, and I can't be every person either. But maybe there's a little bit of each of us in all of us. I'm not quite sure. But for me, I really like collaborating with others because I get ideas from them that stimulate me to create more ideas. Okay. And so the best result to get is where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
You ever feel there's a war going on between your artistic and your commercial sensibilities at all?
No.
You've managed to handle them both nicely then, huh?
I don't think in terms of, see, I don't think of the music that I do in those terms. I usually, what I may call the commercial side of myself, I may use that term, but what I'm thinking of mainly is that I'm writing music that satisfies a certain part of myself, but that also is geared toward maybe a certain segment of the public. Okay. You know, it might be the public between 20 and 30. And when it's jazz, there's another part of myself that I'm interested in satisfying.
Whether through the paintings of Billy D. Williams or the musical wizardry of Herbie Hancock, the musical expression of jazz can manifest itself in a variety of ways. We hope you enjoyed National Arts, and until next time, remember, art was meant to be appreciated, so you be a part of it.